Thank you all for being here. My name is Robert Bell. I'm the director of the Writing Center, and this is the inaugural first session of our PZIA series. So what we're trying to do is a few times a semester have a small group like this, primarily for students, to talk about AI, its uses, its applications, etc. So our first one today will be a kind of a big picture look at AI. One's coming up in the future. We have John over here is going to be doing a talk about researching ethically with AI, so how to use AI to help you do research. And then Paige from Sociology will be teaching y'all in April how to use Notebook LM effectively to help you with your studies. So practical kind of uses of AI. This series came about because I was complaining too frequently to the administration that we were not talking about AI with students enough. And so when you complain, eventually somebody says, well, then do something about it. And so this is what we've come up with. So hopefully you'll find this engaging, you'll have a good time. And I think it's really important these days. The University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill just announced that they are creating a school of AI or a college of AI. They just announced it.
Wow.
Yep. So AI is coming. Right now, the state system is piloting AI modules that my assumption is they're going to push out to everybody at some point. So whether or not you like it, it's here and it's happening, right? And especially when we think about today's presentation, what AI is doing in the world is something you all need to be aware of. So this week it was made public that the Department of War now, right, it used to be Defense, we're now War, they use Claude. And they have a big contract with Claude. They asked Claude, or Anthropic, to put Claude has guardrails to not do certain things, like surveil the American populace. They've asked them to get rid of those guardrails. At the same time, a study out of King's College London shows that when playing war games, AI goes to the nuclear option very quickly. Claude never went to the full nuclear option. ChatGPT 14% of the time. So it's important that we pay attention and don't think that AI exists out there by itself. People control it. People have a say. We have a say. We have to use our voices. And speaking of voices, we're very fortunate today to have, to me, one of the most unique voices on this campus. Someone who cares deeply about the students here and this institution, Dr. Marietta Cameron. Dr. Marietta Cameron, in the computer science department, former chair of computer science, former dean of natural sciences, winner of a couple of distinguished teaching awards here at UNCA, including the Alumni Distinguished Teaching Award. So that tells you the students love MEC, as she's affectionately known. Dr. Cameron, thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Thank you all for being here. I always appreciate the opportunity to share some information about a discipline that I've been working in for 34 years. Okay? I've been teaching AI before AI became the buzzword. Okay, so just to give you some overview about what we mean in terms of artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence techniques. So please note the title here, Between the AI God and the AI Devil, and notice the subtitle. So before I get into more of an explanation here, here's an image that I have created. I created it using an image model that's at a website called Night Cafe. Tell me, what message do you get from looking at this image? Someone, anyone, and please feel free. Yes.
I kind of get the message that like technology could either really benefit us or really hurt us depending on how we use it.
Okay, so I'm hearing technology can either really benefit us or it can hurt us. And I heard you use the term.
Depending on how we use it.
Okay, so I'm hearing the term technology. You did not say AI.
No.
Okay, you said technology can help us or it can hurt us depending on how we use it. Okay, thank you. Let's see, someone else? What message do you get? Yes.
I would go further and say that it will do both.
So we have a peer, a colleague who's saying it will do both. And when you're saying it will, what's it? Is it AI or technology?
Yeah, and I know AI is kind of a nebulous term. I would say these technological advancements in this particular direction will do both.
Okay, so I'm hearing technology will do both. It will both help us and hurt us. Okay. Other messages, yes.
How it starts like the sun in the middle of the person and goes out, it's like it's the people that decide which way it goes.
So I'm hearing that look and notice that I have right here in the middle of the person. This person is humanity. And my colleague Lisa is recognizing that it's initiating from within the person and that it's humanity that will decide the directions. Not necessarily these two things are separate from each other. So I'm going to continue on. Thank you all for answering. I'm going to continue a little bit. And of course, going to go in the wrong direction. So some people, I teach a class right now where we are studying policy making, and we are attempting to write a document that's going to legislate AI technologies, okay, similar to what the EU has done, okay? And one of in our discussions about generating images, I had a comment that came and said, look, the prompt is so easy. A fifth grader can do it, okay? And I want to point out that to get the message that you're trying to generate with an image, it's going to take more techniques than just what a fifth grader will do. I am not trying to get you, I'm not going to read this to you. This is for documentation to tell you the prompt that initiated this image right here. And again, there was some editing that I did in order to get the image. Let me go to the next slide here and show you some of my previous attempts. Behold, and this is just a subset of my previous attempts of trying to get the image to look the way that I wanted and to portray the message that I wanted to see. So people who are thinking, oh, I can just go up to AI and tell it to generate, and it's going to generate exactly what it is I want, you are sadly mistaken. Some of the things that you are seeing is taking a little bit more effort. There is actually now a term called prompt engineering that is in fashion, trying to tell you that the prompt, the way you generate things matter. I love Night Cafe. I have a wonderful account with that, and I can tell you, I get into quite a few of the challenges that are there. I am not an artist, okay? I have a fascination with art, but I am a novice, okay? And I can tell you that in order to get images that will actually win some of the challenges in the competition, you've got to have knowledge of the domain itself in order to get images that are really going to be such that an artist will be able to be unable to distinguish that it was generated by an AI technology. Does that Makes sense to everyone. I'm not saying it doesn't make it easier. Of course it does, okay? But the creativity part is still part of the human equation. Does that make sense to everyone, okay? So, moving on. Let's go on this side right here, the AI God part. So we have the set of humanity right now, the subset of people that are saying AI is going to lead us to utopia. Look at the things that AI can do. Look at what you're seeing. AI can boost cancer detection. And again, I've got these prompts. I can tell you where I got these headlines. I did a Google search last night to see what the current positive news about artificial intelligence is, okay? And I've got various, so what you're seeing here is a bunch of links to different articles that will show. Some of them are really from 2024. If you look and you visit those links, I hope that we will share the link to these slides so that you have access to it and you can visit each of these links on that. So some is just recently, so the AI boosts cancer detection rates in England, that just came out yesterday, okay, as far as an article is concerned. But then again, some of these are, I know that we are creating new crops 5 times faster. That was from 2024. So here are the things that people are seeing, the positive things that artificial intelligence is doing. And please note, look at what it's saying. AI boosts cancer detection. AI reads brain MRIs. AI powered. AI. It gives you that impression that this is some entity that is separated, that's separate from humanity. Let's go as far as the other side of this. So behold, the other side over here, the other extreme, AI is the devil. The headlines that are generating fear, and I am not saying irrational fear. That is not what I'm saying. These are the headlines that have actually happened and should cause concern and should be something that we make sure that we can mitigate as far as these effects are concerned. But look at what it's saying here. A self-driving car, i.e. AI, a self-driving car hits a child. The researcher reports, this AI agent did this. AI agent loses $450,000. AI hallucinations, AI generated. Again, it's all this whole thing of putting the responsibility and the accountability on AI. AI did this, AI did that. It makes it sound like some new entity has already come and is ready to take over the world. And somehow humanity is just going along for the ride. So where I want to go with this is to show how humanity still is the one that happens to be in control. This seems to be a way for us to say, it's not my problem. It's this thing over here that you cannot sue, that you cannot hold legally responsible. It's not me, okay? So and before I move on here, let me point out to you the source as far as these headlines are concerned. All of these are coming. This is a website that lists all of the AI incidents globally. I chose for this presentation to give you a list that represents what's going on in the United States. But if you go to the site, you will see the headlines that are global. Okay? So please, please, please visit that site because it's updated daily. Okay? So let's talk about where humans are in this. So let's go with a little exercise here, and I'm seeing people probably going, oh my God, it's numbers, and the math phobia. This is not really a mathematical problem. And someone's like, well, I'm seeing some numbers here. What are you talking about? So let's look at, what I want you to look at is you have been given this set of data right here that's coming from Sample College USA. And Sample College USA has decided that the way it's going to admit students is about looking at GPA, looking at SAT scores, nothing else in terms of the auto admit. They're only looking at these two things, okay? So I need for you right now, for the sake of this problem, to suspend everything else that you know about college admissions. That yes, I will acknowledge that colleges usually use more than these two things to determine admittance, but for the sake of this example, we are only looking at GPA and SAT score, and you see who's been, from these 6 cases, who's been auto admit and who's been rejected automatically, but they're going to go to committee. So it's not that they're going to be rejected all out, it's just that they have to go on to committee. Okay, is everybody with me on that? I need for you to see if you can think of a rule. So look over here at the rule here that's in this format. GPA is greater than some number, greater than or equal to. That's what that's, for my non-computer scientists in the room, that's greater than or equal to. Okay, sorry about the computer science jargon here. And the SAT score is greater than or equal to some number. So can you look at this training data right here and figure out a rule where the answers will still stay yes for these first 3 and no for these last 3? Anybody got a rule for me? Yes.
GPA greater than or equal to 3.0 and SAT score greater than or equal to 1200.
Okay, and so now let's see what's going to happen to that. That means that this guy right here, according to your rule, would be rejected. We need for it to stay yes.
Still beats the SAT score.
Does it
Yes.
have to be an and?
Yes, right now I need for it to be an and.
I think more.
Okay? This is, right now I'm doing the, it has to be, I'm asking you for it to be an and right now. And someone should say, who made the decision that it has to stay an and? Yes.
GPA greater than 2.3.
Uh-huh. And?
SAT still greater than or equal to 1200.
And bingo, we have a rule, okay? How did you get that rule?
Cross-referencing which GPAs would get it, I guess.
It's good, it's good, it's good. Thank you. We have, here's a rule right here. The GPA is greater than or equal to 2.3 and the SAT score greater than or equal to 1200. A way that I can explain on how you can get that is to, first of all, look at the yeses. Just look at the yeses. Which is the lowest GPA? 2.3. Look at the SAT. Look at the yeses. Which is the lowest? 1200. Behold, there's our bound. And notice what happens. This is the rule that a wonderful colleague here.
My name's Vicky.
Vicky?
My name?
Vicky, yes.
What's happening?
Okay. I'm just referring to you, okay? Okay? Our colleague up here has said, here's a rule right here, and when I apply this rule to others, okay, look who's going to be accepted with a yes automatically, and look who's going to be automatically go to committee, okay? Everybody still there? Okay. So we were like, okay, Vicky, thank you very much. Okay, we have a rule, but wait, somebody is saying, but there's another rule that could work. Okay, anybody else? I think I heard a rule here, but you changed it to an or.
Yes.
Okay, I need to see if I can get another rule that still has an and, but it takes away the equal signs. Can anybody think of a rule like that? Another way to say it is, this rule, I looked at the yeses and came up with the rule. Is there a way that I could look at the no's and come up with a rule? Yes.
Do GPA greater than 2.0 and SAT score greater than 1000.
Yes. And
Lucy.
Lucy has come up with, check it out here. Lucy has come up with this rule. Lucy's saying, hey, Lucy is being merciful here. I am going to look at the nose. I am going to find the highest GPA of the nose, look at the SAT score, see what that is, and say, oh, the reason this person got rejected was because the low SAT score, so it has to be greater than these two things. The SAT score has to be greater than 1,000. And then when I look at the GPA, I look at the SAT score for the nose, find the highest SAT score, which is, where is it? As far as the nose are concerned, that's the 1,400. And so it must be that the GPA has to be greater than 2.0. So we apply the rules, but now look what happens to our test data, okay? Note this middle person right here. Vicky said no, Lucy said yes. Guess who this person wants to be with? Lucy, okay? This person is hoping that Lucy is on the committee that's making up these rules. Some other people are hoping that Vicky is on the committee. Now, how many of you think that this is a problem? This is a problem, okay? You're seeing that you got different rules that can happen. Why is that a problem? Who are you blaming?
Because if we use data models to analyze data, depending on what we ask it to analyze, we can bias the results one way or another.
Okay, so right now we're seeing the bias among the humans. Everybody's saying, okay, I'm seeing, we just did this human mixture here. We think that, oh, there's a bias there. Where's the bias coming from? It's coming from us, okay? So we're like, okay, let me think about this a little bit. This is a graphical way that we can represent this. So the reds are the no's, the blues are the yeses. Notice that I've got the y-axis, so I got a nice little scatter plot here. So we're saying, okay, there's one representation that we can, as far as this data is concerned. Let's go and show you that if in essence, I am sort of drawing a boundary, if you will, as far as the nose. So here's Lucy is going right here, and Vicky is going here. But notice all of the wonderful people that are between those two lines. So we got some agreement that here in this area, anybody whose SAT scores and GPAs are going to be on the no. They're going to be red, right? And over here, we are in agreement that across this side above this line, everyone's going to be automatically accepted. But what happens to these people here? And we start thinking, well, how do we fix this problem? And before we even get to fixing that problem, some other things that we could do is like, wait a minute, I'm looking at in terms of raw data here. Is there a way that I can represent this a little bit more clearly where I can have quadrants where, like in this area, this is the area of students with low GPAs, low SAT scores. Here's the area of students with high GPAs and high SAT scores. And right here, you got high SATs, low GPA. Here, high GPA. Everybody see what's going on? So notice this representation here. And it's like, oh, cool. That this is a representation that could easily let us see which quadrant. Really? Okay. Which quadrant things are in. And notice that here is not the only way, excuse me, go back here. As far as the normalization is concerned, is not. And notice that you have a choice between, do I want to go here, where there's a different set of people that I have a problem with, and I'm over here where, oops, it's another set of people that I'm still biased with. So again, you're seeing this from, I'm seeing a human being doing this work. So what I would think would happen here is that surely the machine is going to do a better job. That's what we're thinking, right? What do you think we need? Why would the machine, if you think that, why would the machine do a better job, you think? Questions? Answers? Yes?
Well, it would apply the rules consistently, right? So,
Really?
yeah.
Okay, so it will apply rules consistently. Okay, let's go on. What else?
We would think it wouldn't have human bias.
You would think that it doesn't have human bias. Okay, what else?
Well, it's designed by humans.
Oh, cut to the chase. It's designed by humans. Okay. What else would you think? I mean, I'm with the consistency part.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's maybe a bad choice, but it's consistent.
Just the volume of training data, it just has more knowledge than we do.
You think it has? So, what would make this better is if we had more data. Is one argument. Okay. Anybody else got anything else that you think that the machine would make it better? So, first problem. Okay. This, what you're looking at, is an example of a neural network that does, this is going to be an example of some machine learning here. So here is an example of a neural network. First thing we're going to do, let's look at the data set right here. Okay, and I'm not going to be able to explain every technical thing that's here, but looking at these data sets that I have, which of these 4 data sets do you think best come close to representing our problem right now as far as students' GPA and SAT score? Which one?
The upper right.
Oh, upper right?
Yeah.
Lower left. Let me go with this here. If you choose the upper right, what you're saying is that admittance to college is everybody who has a high GPA and a high SAT will be accepted, and everybody who has a low GPA and a low SAT score be accepted. So this would not be the one that you want representing your school, okay? Is everybody still with that? We're going with blue is acceptance and orange is no. So this is not the data set you want representing your problem. So already you're seeing that here's a human right now deciding what the data set should look like. Okay, what is the model? How I'm determining what the data is and what elements of the data should be there. By the way, for those of you that are going, look over here, assume that the horizontal axis is GPA and the vertical axis is SAT, and that we're doing the normalization. And by the way, the normalization matters, okay? Yes?
I'm a little confused. I've always been confused by this particular interface, quite frankly. But like, what you're saying is what the data, like the data would probably be all over the map. But are you talking about the model itself, like the outcome? Is that what we're looking at?
And again, the data, again, the model itself, you got to choose the right model that's going to make sure you're getting the right attributes.
Okay. So those aren't inputs; those are outputs.
Right here, the dots are inputs. And notice that, if you notice that axis here, there usually is some processing, pre-processing of the data before it goes into the machine learning algorithm. And that processing is being done by the human beings. So there's some normalization as far as that data is concerned, and that normalization matters. And again, if I make a mistake and choose the wrong model that's gathering that data, my network is going to learn that model. It's going to learn it wonderfully, but it will be incorrect, okay? So let me, right now, this is the model that we're going with, and let's train it. So notice what's happening here. This is saying, hey, based on the data that we have here, everybody that's above this white line is going to be automatically accepted, and everybody that's below that white line is going to be, well, got to go to committee. And so everybody's like, oh, that looks like a reasonable, look how well it learned it. Everybody's kind of good. Look at the error rate as far as it's concerned. Notice that it's at 0. How many of us are very happy with this? Okay, are we happy? Happy, happy? Maybe? Yeah, woo! Look how well this learned this. Let's stop. And how about, have you seen the human change the network at all? Human has not changed the network. The only thing the human has done is reset and say, hey, let's train you again. Anybody notice something?
Oh, the white line moved.
Yes, it did. Okay, how about I stop? And how about I train it again? How about I train it again?
Oh dear.
Everybody see what's happening? It depends. Who has a proposal on how to make this not do that?
More data?
More data. There's an idea. More data. But the problem is, more data, I could do more data, and I could do more data that's all right here. This is equivalent to me looking at the students that I rejected and just selecting some of them that are all in the middle instead of selecting them all the way across. If I just add more data and do it in the same spot, it's going to be the same problem. Yes?
Could you potentially increase the weights of the data to make yeah.
But then that's another thing of me adding more bias to that, because now I got to decide who I'm going to weight high and who I'm going to weight low. One answer would be, look at how all of the data right here is just clustered as far as the students are concerned. Why not making sure that we have data such that it is going across what my colleague was saying, a little bit more across the plane itself. And that will, and making sure that you have more diverse data. We need to have more diverse data, okay, in order for the machine, the algorithms, to give you something that is closer to being accurate, okay? So I'm going to, I think I've convinced you as far as the data. Humans are choosing the data to train this on. You're looking at, but wait a minute, she didn't change the structure of the network. Let's look at other models here. You will see that how well that it learns this. Still haven't changed the structure. But let's go for some domain where the data is spiral in nature here. And I think that everyone in the room right now is saying, hey, what color should be here? If you're coloring this plane based on this data, tell me what color should be over here. Say it loud, say it proud. Blue. I don't think that should be blue. Look at that, look at the orange out there. That should be orange.
Well, what does blue and orange mean? I forget.
It doesn't matter. Okay? Right now.
I feel like it does matter.
It doesn't matter. Orange is, you know, let's say it's yeah, no, and let's say blue is yes. And over here, the orange, if that's a spiral here, I'm saying that outside this area, because there's no blue, there's no test data over here, that should be that orange, and down here should be blue, and in here, there should be a white line that goes in the middle of this, where this will be orange and this will be blue. And watch what happens here. You think that, okay, this is going to be good. Let's see that it's going to learn this. And what do you see happening?
Nothing good.
Nothing good. It is struggling, okay? And you're going, why is it struggling? And you heard, I think you hear the comment that, look, machine learning doesn't need the human, okay? Oh, really? Look at this data here. Well, let's watch what's going to happen here. I am about to change. Oh, you have a human that is changing the structure of the artificial network. Let me add another layer here. I'm putting more layers in there. I am changing all of the modification that I'm doing as far as the input is concerned. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that I can change. And now, let's see how it's going to do. It's not doing a perfect job, but it's doing a better job of trying to learn this. Is everybody? The thing to take away from this, you hear, humans are independent of the programming, of the machine learning algorithms. Did you not just see a human change the structure and the architecture in order to try to get this to learn? And please note, we still have the problem of right here is supposed to be orange, and notice that it is going blue because what it's doing is trying to optimize the problem itself. Okay. Is everybody kind of? Okay, so I'm going to keep on. There's a whole bunch of other things that I can go with. I love playing around with this quite a bit, but for the sake of time, I'm going to move on. I invite you to go to this website and have some wonderful experiments with it. So let's go ahead and go back to full slideshow here. So I did not start off with what the definitions are, okay? I wanted to first of all get you engaged and understand that what has happened is with machine learning is you know how to do the process. The machine learning algorithms is taking that process and mimicking that process on larger data. It can process more data than you can, and it can process more data efficiently, and it can process it more consistently, yes, but if it's the wrong rule in the first place, it's consistently wrong. Okay. So in terms of definitions, please note my title, Evolving Definitions. So here's a definition of AI, and I will say from the literature that's out there, and again, the textbook that I'm using in my artificial intelligence class, states that there's 4 categories as far as AI definitions are concerned. The category that you're looking here is saying that it involves techniques that equip computers to emulate human behavior. This is a definition that says that human intelligence is the golden standard. This is what machines should be trying to reach for if it's trying to be intelligent. It doesn't matter what's going on under the hood. If it looks like it's acting like a human, it's AI. There are other definitions that will say, well, wait a minute. Just because it looks like it doesn't mean that it is. Our definition needs to be a little bit stronger. It needs to be working as a human. It needs to think like a human, not just look like it's behaving like a human, but think like it. And then there's other definitions that are saying, why are we limited to human intelligence? How about we look at other intelligence? And again, it's a matter, do we act like these other intelligence, or do we think like these other intelligent beings? I won't get all into that. What I'm trying to point out is the definition of AI is all over the place. I have people right now that think that a word processor is AI, and I'm scratching my head going, no. But I can argue all day. If this is what a person believes, I'm not going to get anywhere with that, okay? I need for you to notice that machine learning is not synonymous with artificial intelligence. Machine learning is a set of techniques that is a subset of many artificial intelligence technologies. Under machine learning, there's deep learning, generative AI. There's now agentic AI, and that is in another subset on that. So again, please, you can see the source that I got as far as this diagram. Other textbooks will do the similar Venn diagram type model, but again, the idea is the field of artificial intelligence is huge. There is no one thing that is AI. It's different definitions with that, and machine learning is a subset, not the proper subset of that, okay? Yes?
Would AGI be its own big bubble or a subset of generative AI?
It is a subset of AI that's crossing a whole bunch of different things on that. So it would not be, it's not going to be a nice little proper subset within that, it will overlap some. So it'll be more of an intersection of things, okay? And we're still trying to figure that out too, okay? Things to take away. Humans define the rules. Humans select, curate, and label the training data. Humans encode the input and decode the output. Humans determine the structure, the objectives, and the constraints of systems. Humans should take the responsibility and accountability. Look at what the machine and algorithms, they optimize the rules and apply the rules consistently. But notice where the responsibility is. So I think when we are looking at AI, there's that question. I think that this is kind of an undertone as far as your question is concerned, is when will the machine be considered truly intelligent? And I think when are we looking at true general intelligence is what we're asking. And I am saying, so that to me, that is part of when will AI, so you're looking at the machine and you keep going, what attributes will make this be to the point where it's considered a sentient being? Okay, I'm hearing my sci-fi fans going, oh boy, okay? So we're looking at it from that direction. And what I would like to say, or like for us to consider, is okay, in considering that question, let's ask the reverse of that, the inverse of that. What do we do as humans as we become more and more machine ourselves? When do we lose our intelligence card? So we start off, we do have, and unless you all think that I am making this up, there is a discipline that is prosthetics, elective prosthetics that's out there, elected artificial limbs that people can choose to get artificial limbs, okay? So if a person chooses to get artificial legs because they can run faster, artificial arms because they can pump faster, do they still have their intelligence card? Everybody has to say, sure, sure, yes, 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 they still have their intelligence cards. Okay, I'm good, okay? So how about this? If the human decides, in addition to my artificial limbs here, I want artificial eyes and I want artificial ears. Do I still have my intelligence card? Sure, sure, sure. Is everybody still there? Okay. If I get my heart replaced by a machine, okay, where I have some nanobots also cleaning out my blood too, do I still have my intelligence card? Yeah. Okay, okay. If I get a neural network to enhance my brain power, do I still have my human card?
Somewhere in there.
Well,
I mean, it's also so
It's not your whole brain.
Who else is in there?
Who else is in there?
Well, now you got to define intelligence card. Are we saying what percentage of human versus machine am I?
I don't have the answer to that. It's something it's a question for us to consider, because that's where we are on that, okay? Because if the machine, remember the machine is trying to come in the other direction. And I am saying wherever we get to the point where the human is no longer, quote unquote, considered intelligent, if the machine can cross that line, then the machine is a sentient being. And that poses another thing. If we have a problem interacting with each other in terms of different identities, in terms of different demographics, what's going to happen when we introduce another being that's in our image that we have created on that?
We need a new ism.
They need a new ism. They need an ism on that, okay? So anyway, bottom line as far as my talk is concerned here, it was already pointed out that we are looking at our own creations that's not independent of us, that we should not be shifting the responsibility and accountability, because this creation is coming from what's inside of us. And it reflects what's inside of us and who we are. And until we recognize that, we are always going to have questions and fears or false worship, one way or the other on that. And I think that's where we need to empower ourselves to recognize that this is really representing us, and we get to define the direction that it's supposed to go. So with that, and I know my beloved over here had already long told me I was over time. Questions? Hi.
I do have a question. It's almost raises a statement. So I really liked your point about like, where do we become less human and more machine? But I think that the current state of things is that you change your thinking with ChatGPT. So like, if I use ChatGPT to give me social advice on how I should treat a friendship that's like kind of got to, I'm gonna come with bias into ChatGPT and say, well, should I be bad about this? And it's gonna be like, well, yeah. That's gonna affect my thinking to the point where I'm part machine, even though I haven't done anything prosthetically. I think that that's like one of the, like you're saying, one of the dangers of that is like how it changes your view on the world. You could get AI enhanced eyes and they wouldn't really change much. It's how you think about and process that input that makes you a machine.
So I agree that we could let an AI technology affect our thinking, but I can also agree that I can stand here and talk to this wonderful person right here and listen to this wonderful person, and this person will also change my thinking just from the interaction of that. And I can also choose to listen to what this person says and say, you know what, I hear what you're saying, but I disagree. And I'm gonna keep, and just to let you know, I have the professional version of ChatGPT, and I have my version right now because the parameters that go with it is starting as it learns more and more about me. It changes the parameters on that. So it is different from the version that even if you paid for the professional version too, it would adjust to you. But I argue with it. And I come back and say, you are wrong. One of the, yes, but I will tell you that I gave ChatGPT the task of taking, here we go, my computer scientist, taking a program that I had written in Java and asked it to convert into C, and it gave me a solution that was basically program stubs that were empty and said, oh, here it is. And I'm like, no, it's not, this is wrong. Okay. Just something to think about. Okay. Yes.
I was going to ask about, you were talking about policies
Yes.
Regarding AI and our accountability, that like there's humans behind it all. And I was thinking about the YouTube, Google algorithm of like the mid 2010s that kind of, from what I've heard, has influenced the rise of like alt-right cultures and this thing. And is there a way going forward that you see that we would create policy that would hold people accountable for that? Like, is Google responsible for the rise of like hateful behaviors and actions?
And again, that is where I think policymakers should consider who or what we are trying to regulate. Are we trying to regulate the technology? And if we are trying to regulate the technology, I can't sue the technology. Okay, I can't hold the technology legally accountable, but I can hold the designers, the users, the investors, the producers, every one of the above, they're human. And that's where the policymakers, I think, are going to have to really wrestle with that and stopping at we are regulating the technology and look at we are regulating the people that are behind the technology on that. And again, as a developer, I would be extremely concerned about being held accountable for the misuse And so now there's putting in how much of that and how much can I account for the misuse of that. Okay, so I think, again, the same thing as far as people that are using the technology after they purchase it or invest it to make certain decisions. Who do we hold accountable for that? Who do we hold accountable for people losing their jobs, and where do we train them? Because the argument is AI is going to create more jobs. No, you are using the technology as an excuse to fire this group of people or lay off this group of people. So what is your responsibility for the retraining so that they can get these new jobs that you say that technology would produce? So I kind of hope that that addressed.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that kind of just brings to my mind is like, do you sue Smith & Wesson when somebody gets shot?
In this culture, we sue everybody.
It almost makes me in the progression of consequences, like looking at it that way of suing the humans involved, kind of reminds me of how if a really young child does something really bad, it's the parents, it falls on the parents and their negligence or whatever they've done to allow that behavior or influence that behavior. So it kind of makes me think of the mature people in charge of the thing or the person being
right.
responsible for the outcome.
But the reality of our system is the money makes the laws.
Mm-hmm.
And AI's got a lot of money right now, so.
AI doesn't have a lot of money.
I meant that, to indicate
The AI does not have a lot of money.
the industry owners have a lot of money. So they can,
investors.
yeah. Yeah.
I was just thinking about accountability and holding companies responsible for these kinds of things. And I mean, I know in the EU with the GDPR rules, the American companies break those rules all the time and they get huge fines. But it's such a small part of their overall revenue that they just expense these things. And they're like, oh, yeah, whatever, we'll pay off this, that, or the other. And so I'm wondering what you think about, and the reason why this is, there's just so few companies that are so rich, and so I guess I'm wondering what you think about this idea of monopoly also, where if there's so few companies that have so much money and power, what is the penalty that actually causes some sort of change? Or maybe I'm being cynical.
I would not say cynical. Let me say on this side, one of the reasons why I agree to do presentations like this is the idea that I think that when people are empowered and know how things work, then they are empowered to find out what they can do as individuals to make change on that. If people think that it is a lost cause, that AI is here and I'm just going to go with the ride, then the control is there and we have relinquished the power. I would say that that is the same thing about any other entity. That if we relinquish control and power to any other entity, be they human, artificial, or corporate, okay? We have given up our own authority on that. And we have said that we cannot make change. And I am one that don't believe that I am going to give up at all. It might be difficult, I agree with that. The powerful has always had the upper hand, yes, but I've noticed that people, when they finally realize their own power, can call power to accountability. And if we can change our perception and realize our own power, then I think that there's change on that. But as long as we keep saying, as long as this group here have more money than I do here, I can't do anything about it, I might as well sit down, then they have won. You won't be the one to make the change. We have to get that other person who is willing to pay whatever price it is to make change happen. And now that's probably going to be cut as far as the video is concerned. But anyway.
Well, we're about out of time right now. Thank you, Dr. Cameron, for being here.
Okay.